Hello and welcome to my very first episode of Everything Wrong With. I don't know, I just made that up. Okay, my kids are probably gonna interrupt us here because we're sitting outside playing, but I just wanted to talk about something I was talking about on my stories the other day. I was talking about laundry detergent, and I made the statement that if you are trying to prioritize what to switch out to better products first, that laundry detergent should be one of the lower ones in comparison to things that you eat and products you're putting directly on your skin, in that order. So I got some questions from you guys, and I got sent this article by Branchbasics. I got sent it by a couple different people actually. So as I was reading through it, I was just getting like all fired up and I thought I just need to do a video on this. So I'm just going to read through this and just talk about why and share some of the research that I've done of why, in my opinion, I think that a lot of this is factually inaccurate. Okay, so let's start reading. It is the WIU's Branchbasics for Laundry, the importance of a non-toxic laundry detergent article. Okay, so your skin is the largest organ of your body, true, and it absorbs and drinks up whatever it comes into contact with, sort of. Did you know that what you breathe in and put on your skin is just as significant to your well-being as what you eat? Yes, I would make the argument what you eat is slightly more important, but maybe like 60-40, okay? If the laundry products you use contain harmful chemicals, they become hold on one second, puppies. They become impregnated into your clothing and they enter the body through the skin, then the blood and the lymphatic system. Okay, whoa, that escalated quickly. So let's go through that there. So she's claiming that then if the laundry products that you're using contain harmful chemicals, substances in it, then they become impregnated in the clothing and they enter your skin. How? That's not a thing. And then into the blood, wow, and the lymphatic system. I don't think there's one study that you could find that claims that and proves that. If you have a study that proves that from clothing sitting on top of your skin and a substance from in the clothing getting into your bloodstream, I would love to see that because I haven't seen anything close to that before. I did a post on this somewhat recently. Please stop doing that. Go play. Go play with Taryn. I did a post on this about debunking the myth of 60% of what we put on our skin gets absorbed and gets into our bloodstream. So it's actually a scientific fact that a molecule has to be a certain size. It has to be less than 500 DA. That's the measurement Dalton. It has to be less than 500 DA to be able to even fit, if you will, into your bloodstream, to get into your bloodstream, to be taken up and into your bloodstream. Okay, so I can tell you right now that the molecules in detergents aren't, and they're not even if they were, or if some are, like maybe a paraben, that is the size that could get into your bloodstream. If it contains parabens or something, there's so many factors that go into absorption that even if it's the right size, it has to be the right conditions. It has to be the concentration. It matters where it's being applied. Okay, so we'll get to that. Let's go to the next sentence and then I'll touch more on that. In fact, studies published in the American Journal of Public Health show that the skin absorbs about 64% of the contaminant dosage that it comes into contact with, and the absorption rate for fragrance ingredients is 100%. Okay. This is my main concern with this, okay, and why it is so important to really read the studies and actually look at what they're talking about, because this study that she's referencing is called The Role of Skin Absorption as a Route of Exposure for Volatile Organic Compounds in Drinking Water. Okay, so this isn't even talking about ingredients in detergents or even products that we're using. It's talking about VOCs. Okay, so VOCs, volatile organic compounds, that's like when mattresses are off-gassing and furniture is off-gassing, and that really strong fume in paint and paint thinner. Okay, that's volatile organic compounds. It's not an ingredient, it's a contamination. In this case, with drinking water, at least in this article. Okay, so here's what is so important here. Couple different things. Let's just go through this article, okay? So in the abstract, which is the first part, the overview, is where she's getting that line from of the 64%. It says, we found that skin absorption contributed to 21 to 91% of the total dose, averaging 64%. So it's not even that everything was 64%. That was just the average. There was some concentrations where there was only 29% of a absorption and other times where there was a 91% absorption. Okay. It then goes on to say though that in weak aqueous solutions, flux of the solute is directly proportional to concentration. And here's what is so key in this, okay? The dose makes the poison. The concentrations that they are, messing around with in this study are different and so much more than what we would be seeing in a product that we're using, or in this case detergent, which isn't even a thing because there's no volatile organic compounds in detergents. Okay, even the most toxic ones, Tide, okay, not going to be in there. I'll prove it. Let's look at the specific ones that they talked about in this study, because that's also important. How is it administered? What was the method? What was the concentration? And what were the actual chemicals that they were talking about here? Okay, so the different chemicals that they were talking about were toluene. So toluene is it's in paint thinner and nail polish. I'll throw that out there. That's in nail polish. And that would be like in nail polishes where it says 3 free or 5 free. Toluene would definitely be one of those that it would be free of. Okay, so definitely toxic, but definitely not in detergent. Okay, next one is ethyl, what is it? Ethyl benzene, not in laundry detergent. And styrene, not in laundry detergent. Okay, so those are the only three different chemicals that they're dealing with in this study. Okay. Also, as you go on to read, it talks about that concentration being such a important key to what they were studying, because hold on one second, my loves. If you look at even the method as well of how that they the method of how they absorption, it was sticking your hand submerged into the ingredient or chemical for an hour. Okay, so again, the time as well in that, no one's going to be sticking their hand in something for an hour. That really does make the difference here. Okay, it also goes on to then say how the concentration is so important, and how there's so many different important factors that they saw that was different in how people absorbed it and how that absorption changed so much. And it gives a list of a bunch of different things like age, temperature, how well hydrated the skin was, lots of different things, concentration. There's just so many factors that go into how your body is going to absorb something that there is no possible way to make the generalized statement that this percentage is absorbed all across the board. Chemicals are all going to be different sizes. Some, it's literally physically impossible for them to get to that level in your bloodstream. Okay. Others it might, but then there's so many other factors going into that. Okay, so all that to go back and say, let's go back to our original article here. We're to use that scientific study as a reason for why someone should be using a safer detergent is we're comparing apples and oranges here. Honestly, it's not even apples and oranges, it's apples and chickpeas. Okay. This is talking about directly on skin for a very long period of time at a very high dosage, and their control was as opposed to orally taken, what the difference would be. Both of those things are so incredibly different from a substance that is potentially harmful being in a detergent that gets cleaned in your clothes but then washed out, but could still be embedded possibly in the fibers and sitting on top of your skin. Two completely different things. So that study cannot in any way be used to prove that laundry detergent is toxic and that it can get into your skin. Okay. Now, I will also say though, because I know this is going to be something that people will say, I think there are still lots of reasons to use safer, more simpler ingredients in a laundry detergent. Okay, one of the bigger ones I would say would be more related to skin sensitivities, and that's why in my stories I said, unless you have some sort of an obvious skin sensitivity to something, a detergent is, your skin is more sensitive to some of the ingredients or maybe the fragrance, and that's rubbing up against your skin, and that's what's creating maybe a rash, or you're noticing just, some changes like that, or, whatever, different sensitivities to that regard, then absolutely, I think that's obviously a completely valid reason to completely switch up, what you're using. Or kids' clothing, obviously kids' skin is a lot more, sensitive than ours is. And I think there's just a lot of other unexplored things here. Like, there's just really not a lot of studies done on this. That in of itself, I think should be a reason to maybe be slightly more cautious, just because there's really no studies done on what kind of effect like laundry detergent necessarily has. So I would say more what you would be concerned about with the types of ingredients that you're seeing in common detergents today. Either half of them you don't need to worry about because there's no way for them to get into your bloodstream. The other half, maybe inhalation, that would be something. That would be maybe a reason, or another study to link in here that would be more valid, because you're inhaling it all day. The other thing that she says in this that I just think is, worth mentioning, it says that since clothing is worn 24 hours a day, the body never gets a break or rest from exposure to harmful chemicals from laundry detergents. That's kind of catch-22 / semantics, because we're surrounded by toxins all the time. So I don't really think you can make that argument either scientifically that our body needs a rest from it per se, and that makes that big of a difference to change out the laundry detergent for that reason. I kind of think of the picture like you're in a bathtub drowning and someone's removing a dropper worth of water. It's like, yes, you removed some of the water, but how much was that actually beneficial to really making a difference? I'm not sure. And sure, you could make the argument that, many droppers removing a lot of different things makes a bigger difference. Sure. But I agree with that. But I mean, there's different studies about dust and how like dust contains like arsenic and, crazy different things where if you're breathing that in, that's going to be far worse than the clothing that we're washing or the detergent we're washing our clothing in. I mean, I would go look up studies on that if you want to freak yourself out. I would get an air filter before like really being freaked out about the detergent and thinking that that's going to make a bigger difference. You know what I'm saying? So all that to say, it's very important to look at the scientific studies that are talked about, because obviously things can really be taken out of context. And, that's about it here. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below with any of your thoughts or research. Again, if you have research studies that really show that something sitting on your skin gets in your bloodstream, I would really love to see that. All right. Thank you for joining me today. If you made it through this, comment. Love you.